Hello, it is Heather from the Reading Mama, and today I have my June reading wrap up because inquiring minds want to know. So I went through and did a mid-month wrap up. If you want to see those 9 books, I'm probably not going to talk about them more, but let's be honest, I probably will forget which ones I talked about already and will go beyond. So I read so many books this month, and I'm trying to find my thing. So I read 27 books this month. I went back and looked at my TBR for June, and I at least physically handled all the books that were on my June TBR. I did pretty good actually on a lot of them. And so we're gonna just go through all the books as best I can. I'm gonna go by genre because that's how I kind of outlined my, what do you call it, my reading journal. And I kind of like that layout by genre. I only did one monthly challenge, and that was June Journey with the Inklings from Kaylee at Luminous Libro, and I have a whole wrap up about those books. So let's go over those first because I'm just gonna go through them lightning fast. So I read The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. In my 40 by 440, I was trying to read through all of Narnia again, and I didn't quite make it. But I'm not 41 yet, so, you know, it counts. Maybe, kind of, sort of. Anyways, and so I kind of did a audio / physical read of The Magician's Nephew, and I went into it thinking I didn't really love it, but I did. So go check out my June Journey with the Inklings for more about that. I also listened to The Last Battle and finished up my Narnia thing, bawling all the way. Highly recommend Patrick Stewart reading it to you because he has a great voice. I also, and I don't have it in here with me, it's on the other shelf, but I did read one part of J.R.R. Tolkien's translation, that's the word, translation of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and I also read C.S. Lewis's On Grief, and I talk more about that in my Inklings video, which maybe I'll tag here if I remember. And so that was my only monthly challenge. And then I have my annual challenges that I'm working on, which would be Chantel at Chantel Reads All Day, her Read Your Bookshelf challenge. And I read for a book that has multiple words. It was like more than 5 words in the title. I was saying I was going to read Cliff on the Cliffs of Foxglove Manor, but that was a library book, and that would be cheating because it's Read Your Bookshelf challenge, though I did keep it way past when I was supposed to. But I read the first volume of the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon, and I know I talked about this in my other videos, so I'm not going to talk about it much more, but I will tell you that I did go ahead and buy book 2 and 3 because it's a series, and why not? I did enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to continuing it. Then for Alma's book journey. I got it, Alma. She has a journey through time historical fiction reading, and the prompt for this month was World War II, and I actually had 2 DNFs. I have one that was a soft DNF, so it's a Not Right Now, which was the Vienna Prelude, and I've heard really great things about it, but it was thick, and I started reading it. I just wasn't feeling it. I'm very much a mood reader, so it's a Not Right Now, and it's back on the shelf. Then I picked up Resistance Women, which has sat on my shelf for over a year. I got it at like a little free library, and I was like, oh, this will be fun. I love World War II books. I did not. It was a DNF, and I made it probably 60% of the way. I probably should have DNF'd it sooner, but it is one of my DNFs for the month was Resistance Women by Jennifer Chiaverini, either way. I love her World War I books that I've read, but this one was so disappointing, mostly because one of the main characters you follow is in a adulterous affair, and it just finally got to the point where I was like, there's enough other little nuggets of kind of illicit things and a few swears here and there, and then on top of that the adultery. I can't do it, and so I DNF'd that. So I ended up listening to, and I picked this up on a whim, and it was, I have to look at it, Sisters Under the Rising Sun by Heather Morris. Absolutely phenomenal. And the audiobook, you have to do an audiobook. You could do a physical book, okay, but then you need to look up the songs that they're talking about because it is very musical minded. Just amazing. And it's about primarily about prisoners of war in the Philippines and Malay area during World War II, and talking about Australian nurses and their vocal choir that they had, and some of the British and Dutch people who were also interned there. And it is powerful, it is moving, it is beautiful, absolutely a gorgeous story. So I highly recommend that. I don't know if I made any progress on my Perfect Pairs. I did read for Chantel's Indie Book Club Challenge, Flame Theory, which is the book for the month, and it was really good. I think I talked about this in the other video. I really enjoyed it. Desperately need book 2 now, and going to be looking at more books by this author because I really loved it. I struggled to kind of picture the setting, but now I think I've got it. It's a very 1920s vibe where you've got a little bit of mix of carriages and you've got a mix of cars, and you have weapons that go bang and swords, and then you also have like it just was a mix. I was struggling with that part of it, but otherwise I love the story. It's got a very mafia and dragon school. Again, it's perfectly clean, not even fade to black. There's some yearning, there is some angst and all of that stuff, but I really, really loved Flame Theory and looking forward to continuing that series. And then I think that's it for my challenges. So let's go into other books I read this month. So for romance, I read 5 different romance books by 2 people, and I even have the books and I did not bring them in here, but I finished book 2 and book 3 of Shatona Havig's Aggie series. And so we follow Aggie, who has taken on the role of caring for her deceased sister's 8 children, and she's remodeling a home, and there's a love triangle, kind of, not really. I really just appreciated how Shatona gives the character, because it's a Christian romance, she is showing a very modest and mature way of approaching romance, especially given the circumstances that this character is under. And it was really beautiful and really encouraging. And then the hijinks with the 8 kids, then there was a bit of intensity in book 3. I just loved it. I also read 3, and I think I may have already talked about these, but Karen Barnett's Vintage National Park series. So you have Road to Paradise, Where Fire Falls, and Ever Faithful, and these take place at 3 different parks. They're totally separate other than they're set around the same time period, 20s, 30s, and they take place in national parks and focus on their romance stories with a little intense adventure on the side from various, very different aspects. But being a Charlotte Mason homeschool mom, nature, art, and science all coming together that's a winner for me. Book 1 was all about the main character was a naturalist. Book 2, the main character was an artist. Then book 3, the main character was an educator. So it was like all up my alley, and I absolutely loved it. Again, sweet, innocent relationships that are Christ honoring, beautiful testimonies for the Lord. I really appreciate those being in them. They were very light and funny. Then I also read for another historical fiction. So I had M.M. Lyon and the Sisters of the Rising Sun, and then I read the Berlin Letters, and I talk about that in the other video, and that was shockingly wonderful. Talks about espionage and such behind the Iron Curtain. Then I read my Nova McBee. I guess this is technically a challenge. It was a reread for me, book 2 in the Calculated series, and absolutely love following the story of Jo Rivers, who is a math prodigy who has lost her abilities but is still part of that world because she's still very intelligent and still has a lot of good experience, and she is trying to get back her special mathematical skills that defy, they're a little more X-Men-ish if you want to do it. Book 1 is a Count of Monte Cristo kind of retell, whereas here we get more Mission Impossible vibes, and I absolutely loved it. Great reread. Looking forward to reading book 3, and then book 4 is coming out in August now. I really did enjoy the different aspects. It takes place in Tunisia, and you get a little bit of world travel. I love that while it's not a Christian story necessarily, it is by a Christian author, and so she has just little nuggets of it's very there's a love triangle. It's YA, but she's very respectful of it, and I appreciate that, and the characters are respectful, and I really love all those aspects of it. And then it's got the adventure, the high stakes, crime, all of these things going on in the background, and so this one is a little less revenge focused. And then I read a whole bunch of mysteries and thrillers. So I read first On the Cliffs of Foxglove Manor by Jamie Jo Wright. Super creepy, almost DNF'd it. glad I didn't. Talk about that in my mid-month wrap-up, so I'm not going to go into it. That Vacation Friends by Christy Barrett, also talk about that in the other one. Phenomenal, absolutely loved it. State of Lies by Sari Mitchell. Again, I talked about those. These are all Christian mystery thrillers. Highly recommend. I will tell you, Jamie Jo Wright gets like very ghosty. Keep with it. It never is a ghost, okay? It never is a real ghost. So just go with it. Trust the process. Know that it's going to be creepy, but it'll all work out in the end, and you're going to get a great testimony for the Lord and a little bit of a romance and a whole bunch of heart palpitations, okay? Christy Barrett, Vacation Friends, phenomenal. That was one of my favorite reads from the month. Going to definitely be adding her in as a author I want to read more of. I love the subtle Christianity in it. I loved the thriller mystery aspect of it. Absolutely loved it. State of Lies by Sari Mitchell. Again, I liked it. Talk about that in the other video. There was a little bit that I had an issue with, but in general, good, clean book. But it was just, yeah. Anyways, I didn't like the husband. Then I also started Terry Blackstock's Moonlighters series. I actually finished that today. It's like July 3rd, 4th? July 3rd. Tomorrow's July 4th. And so that is Truth Stained Lies, and then Distortion is book 2. And in these series, you're following a family who has just had the worst luck on earth, okay? Book 1 focuses on Kathy and her, how do I say it? So you have Kathy, Juliet, and Holly. They're sisters, and they have their brother Jay. Kathy, Juliet, and Holly end up working for a friend of the family who has become a private eye because he accidentally was untruthful on the stand when he was reporting as a police officer. So he lost that. Now he works as a private eye. A lot of things are going on. Murder mysteries being solved, crime syndicates galore, all kinds of family things going on. Beautiful testimony for the Lord in all 3 books. And if you're going to read Terry Blackstock, either listening or reading, make sure you stick around for the author's note, because those things are like a devotional all by themselves. They're phenomenal. And it was high intense. A few things were a little far-fetched because you're trying to pack in so much action. But it was really fun. If you can withstand, put off the reality of some of the things, then it's a lot of fun. And then I also read Colleen Cobles' I Think I Was Murdered, and that was my favorite book of the month for this month. And my first Colleen Coble, which I will definitely be going back for her. I'm really loving this Christian thriller genre, but I Think I Was Murdered follows a young woman who has lost her husband and works for a tech company. It starts out with her coming to the tech company, and her bosses fled the country. The cops and FBI have shown up. Things are just off the rail. Anyways, she goes back home, and you find that on her phone, she has a app or a bot that her tech company had created, using AI to take in all of her dead husband's emails, texts, all these things, so that when she opens it and texts, it's like she's talking to him, and the AI is using that. So it delves into all the concepts of AI and the misuse of AI, which was interesting. You have her husband's the one who says in the text that he thinks he was murdered. And so she's trying to solve that problem while dealing with her life kind of falling apart, coming up with old friends, and a lot going on. Also, a lot of food. Oh my goodness. So much food mentioned in that, and all of it sounded delicious, and I have no access to any of that kind of food. There was Dutch food, there was Japanese food, it was phenomenal, and it sounded so delicious, and I did not expect that. So that was really good. And then I read a boatload of fantasy, go figure. So I read Death Mark by Kate Stradling, and I don't remember if I talked about this in the other video or not, but it is phenomenal. My favorite Kate Stradling, I think, so far. Well, maybe not. I really love The Heir and the Spare. So this is a Blue Castle retelling, and again, you gotta read the dedications and the author's notes. But this one, it says, to LMM with profuse apologies, which I think is funny, because it's a Blue Castle retelling from Lucy Maud Montgomery, but with necromancers, and yeah. So if you don't know, in Blue Castle, it's a young woman who is given the prognosis that she has an illness and she's going to die soon. And she turns her whole life around. She had been very sheltered, very stuck in a legalistic family, and she goes and just changes the whole trajectory of her life because of this pronouncement that she's going to die soon. Well, in here, they're necromancers. I don't like the word. I feel like we need a different word, and it would be much more acceptable in Christian circles because this is a Christian author and there's nothing untoward in this, perfectly clean, but it has necromancers. And they want to take, it's a weird magic system kind of going on. And there's some death magic, and light triumphs over dark, so it's all good in the end. But it does get a little weird and creepy. But you follow a young girl who gets the death mark, thinks she's going to die soon, and her life changes because of that. It's a lot darker than the Blue Castle, but and a lot heavier, I think. But I really enjoyed it. I loved the relationship. I loved the banter between the two main characters. And then I really loved how it resolved in the end. And all the twists that came along with that, I thought, were really phenomenal. So I enjoyed this. Then I also read the next installment in the Kingdom Come. Is that what it's called? I can never remember the name of this series. I think it's called the Till Kingdom Come series by Abigail Breyer. And I really liked this. It was frustrating because book one leaves kind of on a major cliffhanger. And you're like, I don't want to take a side quest to know about the background story of one of the side characters in the first book. I want to read book two, and it's sitting there, and I will read it. But I did know I had to read it in order. I would hurt myself from not doing that. So I'm glad I got the story. It was beautiful. I feel like this could almost be a standalone because you get the story of Cove, who shows up in book one as a servant, and in book, and I feel like we still don't have the whole backstory. I feel like there is a secret we don't know about Cove, and I'm pretty excited because I'm antsy to find out if what my guess is true, because I think she's royalty and doesn't realize it herself. Anyways, I digress. She's she is found in the ocean by some people who then use her abilities to their advantage, and holding over her that she is a ember, which is a person who has light within them, and they're holding that against her as kind of, blackmailing her. And it kind of goes on from that. She goes and works in the castle of the islands. I don't know what the islands are called. Tabrana and Oriana, which is just south of I believe south. Am I right? Yes, I am. See, I memorized the entire world's map. It's just south of the main, where the first story takes place, the main island and continent. And so, and she is placed in the royalty there, and then things happen. You get a lot of the political background of what's going on between the Despiri and the Embers. Despiri are the ones who kill Embers who have light within them after they have trust in the Father of Lights, and Despiri kill them to take their magic and then twist it into some kind of darkness. And you get more of the political backgrounds of it, of people who are on this side trying to decide what is best. Is it right to follow what is true and good, or is it best to try to save everyone's life? Is it best to do what is going to protect me and my family? All of these kinds of concepts are explored in here, along with a heaviness and a grief and a loneliness. There's a very fast-paced, sweet, beautiful romance, and a crazy heartbreaking twist at the end. Abigail does a really great flip, and so I'm eager to read book two, which is the third book. Anyways, I also finally finished Warbreaker, and I talk about that in the other video, and I've talked about it enough, and you all know that I give terrible synopses, whatever that word is, about Sanderson books, because frankly they're just too complex for me to try to say quickly. Color magic from your breath. You can only give the breath, it can't be stolen. That magic can then make inanimate objects come alive. There are people who are the returned, they're gods, who have died and come back to life, and they can give all of their breaths to help save one person, but then they die. There's two kingdoms that are kind of at war, and there's a lot of upheaval going on, and then there are mysterious hands playing in the background, making puppets, trying to make entreaties and change things, and there are two princesses caught in the middle of all this, not fully aware of what all is going on. Nobody is ever fully aware, and everybody is shocked by the twist that happens happens at the end. It was really good, really enjoyed it. Do I love it more than Mistborn? No, I don't. Because Mistborn, I think, will always have a special place in my heart. But I did really enjoy Warbreaker, and getting ready to read my next, whatever his name is, Sanderson. I also read Unblemished by Sarah Ella. I think I talked about that in the other one. It was a YA fantasy. It wasn't my favorite. Am I going to continue the series? Probably. Because I don't like to leave a series unfinished. That said, it was just very tropey, very angsty, very mixing modern vernacular with the fantasy, and that like just doesn't sit well with my mind sometimes. At least the way that it was being used. We'll see. I'll continue it. Who knows? It has a chosen one trope kind of going on with that. And I finished The Light Princess, which I talked about. And then that leaves the last thing I DNF'd. And I DNF'd That Hideous Strength by C.S. Lewis. I've had it on my list forever. I made it through book 1 and 2 of the Space Trilogy. And I have decided that at this point in my life, I hate Ransom with passion. And I can't listen to another book from his point of view. I just don't care. I just don't care. I know, it's terrible. I know that there are a lot of deeper truths in the Space Trilogy, and I don't have the time right now to sit and unpack and focus on them. And I think that's part of my animosity towards it. But also, the first one felt very colonial-esque, and the second one felt very allegorical-esque in a force it down your throat kind of way. And book 3, it just kept talking about Ransom, and I just was like, I hate you, buddy. I just hate you. So I was like, you know what? There is no reason to continue to read this, even though it would complete it. But for now, it is a DNF. I'm gonna put myself through it. But all that said, I read 27 books for the month. 12 physical books. 12 physical books is I think the most. Yeah, only other time I did that was in February. So 12 physical books, 1 digital book. Oh, I didn't tell you about my digital book. Oh, it was so good. It almost is my favorite book of the month. But since I finished it at like 2 o'clock on July 1st, I don't know that I can technically count it. But it was Veil of Deceit by A.R. Conwell. It was so good. So I know that I have to read book 1 and 2 because there's a duology that happens before, and this is like taking from the side character from those books. So I kind of got a little bit of spoilery, but it looked so good I had to read it, and I got on the ARC team, and then I was like, forgot about the ARC, and so I stayed up way too late reading it, and it was phenomenal and totally worth it. But you follow Finn, and you're in this world, and I forget what the name of the world is, but they have gifts. Some of them have gifts or powers given to them by the hidden tides, their ocean, and his is charm, and he is then placed in an arranged marriage with another young lady who has an ability to take other people's voices, and so they're in this forced marriage going on a heist with the prince and princess to help save the kingdom from some evil. And there's a whole bunch of little backstories going on, plus just dealing with the forced marriage concept and all of these things playing out. Great banter, great story. So excited to see it continue. It was a horrible cliffhanger, but it was a phenomenal book that I just did not want to put down. So Veil of Deceit by A.R. Conwell was phenomenal, and I'm going to go back and read the original duology, because really loved it. And so, as I was saying, 12 physical books, 1 digital book, and 14 audio books. And it brings me to a total of 27, which is my 3rd highest for the month of books. It's a ridiculous amount of books that I have read for the year. I don't even, can I tell you honestly, I finished 3 since the month started, but I'm at 164 books for the year, which is insane. I do a lot of audio, so please don't judge me there. But yeah, a lot of books. It was a really good reading month, and I'm looking forward to July. Like I said, I've already got 3 done because they were holdovers from the previous month. So lots of great books. If you have a question about any of these, drop it below. And thank you so very much for joining me, and have a happy 4th of July.